Greetings, everybody. My name is Patience Mashiri, and we are here live at Zimbabwe Daily, where we are on our program called Meet the Candidate. And today we have a very special guest in the house who will be sharing a journey as a politician. And yes, she's the lead president. Her name is Linda Masarira. So I think I will let you reintroduce yourself as she tells us about herself. Welcome to the platform, Madam President.
Thank you very much, Titi. I wonder why people decide to say T when it comes to my Shona name, which is my real name actually,
Mhm.
because that was my first name before my dad went to take a birth certificate and put Linda first.
Mhm.
So I usually like my Tsungirirai
Tsungirirai
pronounced as it is
Okay.
Linda Tsungirirai
Tsungirirai.
Masarira.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I am the founding president of the Labour Economists and African Democrats, 100% wholly organically grown Pan-Africanist political party in
Mm-hmm.
Zimbabwe,
Mm-hmm.
with a bias,
With a bias.
yes,
We definitely.
towards women.
Wow.
Yes. The reason being that women in Zimbabwe have been structurally marginalized.
Mm-hmm.
They're elbowed out of active politics, and they're usually just given positions as a form of tokenism and given an illusion of power which is non existent.
Mm-hmm.
And cognizant of that fact, I decided with some other women and men who also realized the same to come up with a political party that is inclusive,
Mm-hmm.
that is speaking to the issues that are affecting the real people of Zimbabwe, which are the women and the young people.
Mm-hmm.
And we've made sure that we've given a safe space to women and young people to participate in mainstream politics, to get their voices heard, and to ensure that they become the change that they want to be in their communities, in their constituencies, in their wards,
Mm-hmm.
and at every sphere of the economy in Zimbabwe.
Mm-hmm. Maybe we'll get back to that when we talk about your political part. Maybe people would want to know how you started your political journey.
My political journey started in 2000. I was a youth. I was residing in Bindura. I was an attachment at Ashanti Goldfields then. I did IT in college. And Bindura then was a ZANU PF stronghold, and I had a soft spot for MDC, and I started to openly campaign for the MDC, which got my parents into trouble, which got myself into trouble,
Mm-hmm.
until I was banished from Bindura. I think I spent more than 6 years without even stepping my foot in Bindura
Yeah,
after my
so
father's
sad.
shops were banned. You know how bad it was during
Mm-hmm.
those days
Oh, yes.
because of my MDC activism. And I joined the MDC in 2000. And I remember I bought my first card around September 2000. The MDC card then was still blue in color.
Mm-hmm.
So it actually is a shock to me when you hear some fly by night MDC people trying to say Linda was never MDC.
Mm-hmm.
Would you know every MDC supporter or every MDC activist? Because
Never.
then there was no social media.
Mm-hmm.
So for one to start claiming, especially those who never even had that blue card,
Oh,
and
yes.
some of them were still in school then,
Mm-hmm.
you will find them vehemently saying Linda was never part of MDC, but I joined MDC in 2000. And back then, my activism was more of labor activism. I was in trade unionism. I was fired as the systems technology. I was fired at NRZ. I was also fired at Great Face Computers for advocating for labor rights. And that was mainly what I was known for ensuring that everyone has got a safe space at the workplace, that labor justice is upheld. And I was really passionate about that. And to date, I still fight for the workers' rights because I see workers being treated as second-class citizens in this country. Most of them actually serving as servitude workers in our country because what they get practically cannot sustain livelihoods. So my passion is for labor. I believe that for us to be able to build a better and brighter Zimbabwe, we have to respect the dignity of workers, remunerate them properly, and ensure that their safety is protected in different workplaces. So I am a labor activist at heart. I continue advocating and fighting for labor rights, for gender rights, and I fight for development. I want to see development. I don't believe in politics of mudslinging, skullduggery, pulling each other down, saying all sorts of name calling to each other. I believe that our political economy was actually tainted by the toxic politics which was introduced by Morgan Tsvangirai and Robert Mugabe, where politics was defined as a platform of just insulting each other at the expense of development. Look at where we are 22 years after we have had a main opposition in this country. There's no development to talk about. What we can just have is a track record of insults, of violence, and we haven't seen that transformation that we want to see, that tangible change. It's not there. And you still find people today saying, leaders, opposition, leaders, kutuka ZANU-PF. My politics is not about kutuka. Politics is about kuvaka. We have to sober up and say, we are all Zimbabweans. If we first sit down and say we are all Zimbabweans, we'll be able to tolerate each other. But if we still look at each other and say, that is why my message has always been, we need to find each other as Zimbabweans. We need to find one shared common national vision. What is it that we want as a people? We want development. Because from development, we will find the jobs that we're crying for, because they come through developmental projects. When development starts happening, we have construction, we have rehabilitation, we've got mining, rehabilitation, etc., and naturally jobs will be created. But when we're saying we start developmental projects, then so at the end of the day, I think we have to get to a stage where we have a put Zimbabwe first agenda. I love the politics in America. I remember when Hillary Clinton was defeated by Donald Trump in the US, there were a lot of animosity around that. There was a lot of illegitimacy issues around that. But Hillary Clinton stood up, and I remember a speech, she said what is important is to put America first, which is the spirit I have not seen in Zimbabwe. We always have this illegitimacy crisis. Zimbabwe will not work, the economy will tumble, you cannot rig the economy, etc., etc. Is our politics about the people or for political selfish grandstanding? Those are things that we have to interrogate. But unfortunately, there are people who've got a passion of seeing everything bad in this country. We don't even want to speak about the good and positive things in this country. Every country has got its ills. But we also have to get to a stage where we appreciate the good in our country, focus on developing our country. That way we'll be able to build a unified Zimbabwe. That is what we need, to be able to work for the goal, number one, which is putting Zimbabwe first. The interest of every Zimbabwean first. Every Zimbabwean needs a good life. I always say to my followers, kana shiri chaiyo, kana shoshe rinoda mugariro wakanaka. Let our politics be about improving livelihoods in Zimbabwe, ensuring sustainable human development, sustainable economic growth. Then we start talking about leadership. Then we start talking about what we want as Zimbabwean people. I'm not there. That is not the type of politics I'm interested in.
Okay, to those who have just joined us, this is Zimbabwe Daily, and today we have a special guest, Linda Tsungirirai Masarira, the lead president, and we are talking, it's like we said before, that this program is called Meet the Candidate. So if you're an aspiring candidate, you might be a presidential candidate, a member of parliament, a councillor, or a senate, you could join us here at Zimbabwe Daily and speak for yourself, so that we will not be able to judge you, because usually people judge people. So today we have Linda. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to follow through and send us those questions. Probably before we talk about development, you then campaigned as an independent candidate before you joined the MDC led by Medium Coupe. So how was it for you?
What I learned during that time is Zimbabweans do not appreciate what an independent candidate is, because most of the questions I got during that time was, Saka president president yako. I also learned that Zimbabweans have not yet started appreciating the role of a councillor, the role of an MP, and remove it from the presidential candidate. Because sometimes we lose the value by just wanting to follow candidates who are aligned to a particular presidential candidate, even if they are useless.
Wow.
Yes. I've always given an example of Harare Central where I've participated, that people go and vote for the same candidate, MP candidate and same councillor, whom they don't know, whom are not serving the interests of the people, who do not even have engagement with the people in Harare Central Constituency or Ward 6. But they keep on voting for them because they are aligned to a particular presidential candidate. What Zimbabwean electorate does not understand is that when you vote for a councillor, that person is the one who is responsible for the development in your ward. And there is nothing wrong for voting for a councillor coming from Budzi party. But achigona kukupai development in the service delivery.
Oh yes.
That is one thing that Zimbabweans have to learn. I always give an example of Waterford. The ward in Waterford, Bulawayo, is the only ward in Bulawayo Metropolitan that has retained a ZANU-PF councillor. Not because the electorate in Waterford loves ZANU-PF, but the ZANU-PF councillor can deliver to the electorate in Waterford. So at the end of the day, Harare residents missed an opportunity of good service delivery in 2018. Remember, there was a coalition of independent candidates under the banner of POVO. Those people had clear manifestos. They could have delivered a new Harare to Harare residents. But people did not vote for them, even though they had clarity on what they stood for. People went back and voted for the same people, and some have been councillors since 2000 who have totally failed their work. So I think going into 2023, people need to introspect. People need to sit down, interrogate, especially councillors on MPs, on meritocracy, on the manifestos that they are giving to the people. Not just saying because they were party A. That is what has destroyed Zimbabwe. That is why Zimbabwe is not going anywhere. Because people have become accustomed to ticket running. It's all about kupinda. It's all about food, not about delivering. So, Chichambe, Chirku electorate, how are you going to vote in 2023 will determine your future.
And then, so when we are talking about the 2023 elections, and we are 13 months before the next general election, we are talking about the harmonized election in Zimbabwe. How far ready are you as a presidential candidate? And do you think it's necessary as opposition to be having like more than 24 opposition political parties fighting like for the one political party that we think have destroyed the economy of Zimbabwe? Do you think it's really necessary, or it's time that you guys as the opposition, you can then come together to make sure that you fight ZANU-PF and then maybe talk papaya to Twitter say?
I'm a very pragmatic person, and I speak my mind without fear or favor. Coalitions or unities should be on an ideology. Do you speak to the same ideology? I just cannot go into a coalition for the sake of going into a coalition or into an alliance when we do not share the same ideology. My position is clear. I have never faltered for what I stand for. I'm a Pan-Africanist at heart. I believe that all the solutions to the crisis bedeviling Zimbabwe lies in the hearts and minds of Zimbabweans. I don't believe in subcontracting our troubles and worries to European countries or Eastern countries or Western countries, etc., etc., etc. That is me. And if I get any other political party that believes in harnessing our intellectual prowess in Zimbabwe to come up with a better system, yes, I can have a coalition with them. But for those who want to go and beg for the US dollar, for foreign funding, and etc., I cannot have a coalition with them. Because for me, I see the hand of the West, which I've always called the invisible hand, meddling in our political economy so that there is instability in this country. And that is one thing that Zimbabweans don't want to accept, that we have had our economy manipulated, we have had our political economy manipulated. Everything about us is manipulated. And up to until we are sincere that we no longer want to have whatever form of interference from any foreign country, that is the only way we'll be able to fix Zimbabwe. And I am not going to go into coalitions of people who believe that the US dollar is the solution to this country, because I believe in our local currency. I believe in strengthening our local currency for us to be able to get Zimbabwe out of the quagmire that it is facing. So I will not just go into a coalition because Ukondoku ni Chaunga. I've said it time and again, and I'll say it again right now, that I am one person who's not afraid of stepping out of the bus, which is going the wrong direction. I will not go the wrong direction because Chaunga should go the wrong direction. Because I know that one day, most people will vindicate me, and when they see how wrong they were. It is time for people to research, to have a deeper understanding of our political dynamics in this country, to understand where we are coming from and where we are going. Both the ZANU-PF and the MDC then have been complicit to the economic challenges that we are facing. People want to wrap away the issue to do with sanctions. Sanctions are a form of economic warfare. They are meant to destroy an economy. And the MDC then supported the destroying of our economy. And today they want to run away and say it was ZANU-PF. They are both responsible for the quagmire, economic quagmire that we are facing as a nation right now. And for me, I will say it over and over again until people understand. Both the ZANU-PF and the MDC then, with most of its leaders now in Triple C, are responsible for the economic crisis that we have in this country.
Wow.
Some of them want to cry foul and say, we are not. When they went into the government of national unity, they were just focused on primitive accumulation of wealth. Most of them went into the GNU poor and came out of it filthy rich. Most of those leaders in the Triple C have got farms which they got from ZANU-PF. But they tell people that, we bought our farms. Where did they buy them? The other year, RBZ put a list in the newspaper of people who are owing money who never paid. Most of the Triple C leaders have got money that they owe the RBZ. But these are truths that people don't want to speak. When we start challenging the ones, Linda, I always challenge both. ZANU-PF, Triple C, and MDC led by Douglas Monzora. I don't owe any of those three parties any allegiance because I'm running my own political party. The allegiance that I owe to Zimbabwe. The country that I am born. Whatever I do for Zimbabwe, not for Nelson Chamisa, not for Idi Mnangagwa, and not for Douglas Monzora. I am running my own party, and I will forward my opinion, and no one should tell me what to say or what not to say. I will say what I see deemed fit at that particular time. Because what we don't want to remove ZANU-PF and to put a replica of ZANU-PF. Because it's statement is not our opposition. You know that. We don't want people who are motivated into politics trying to We want people who are motivated to build Zimbabwe, to serve people and to improve livelihoods. That is what is important.
Yeah, President. No,
being honest.
Yeah, for sure, very true. Yeah, being honest. I also wanted to probably before I get back to talking about development in Zimbabwe, maybe I wanted to talk about, the women participation, looking at the last by-election, which was held in March, and also probably the next election, which is 2023. What do you see in terms of women participation?
I'm sincerely hoping that we will have more women participating and that we will have more women supporting women and that we will successfully transform our electoral system from the first past the post-Westminster electoral system that we adopted from the Smith regime and introduce a proportional representation system like the one that we're using in Senate and the one that is used in South Africa and many other countries. And I'm also glad to say that I've started the process of litigation to ensure that we have an electoral reform to that effect, to ensure that Section 17 of the Constitution becomes a reality, because gender balance is just not a women's crybaby issue.
Yeah,
it is a constitutional provision, which some of us are going to fight tooth and nail until gender balance becomes a reality. We cannot have a constitution that we do not respect. We cannot have a constitution that we do not adhere to, because women are also equal beings before the law in this country, and every women's rights issues should be upheld in its totality as enshrined in the Constitution of Zimbabwe.
And then when we talk about, the arrests in Zimbabwe in terms of activists and other political activists who stand for people's rights or whatever the criteria they will be using, what do you think about the arrest of people in Zimbabwe, especially those who are fighting for Zimbabwe's rights?
I condemn any form of arrest of anyone who's advocating for a better Zimbabwe, because our Constitution is also clear about people expressing themselves in a peaceful manner. What is not acceptable in our constitution is to try and have violent protests. That is not acceptable. But our government also needs to be able to ensure that they listen to all the voices, because all the voices matter. No one will just come out and start complaining about a certain issue if there's not a cause. There is a cause. And what government is supposed to do is to give a listening ear and ensure that they correct that particular particular voice or call for help. That is what is important.
Okay. To those who have just joined us, we are here at Meet the Candidate here at Zimbabwe Daily, and my name is Tsungirirai Masarira. And today, yes, we have a very special guest who is also an aspiring 2023 candidate. Her name is Linda Tsungirirai Masarira, who is the lead president. So we'll be talking more, and if you would want also to be on our show, please do get in touch. And as we are talking about, we need to know the candidate before the 2023 elections, and you all know that we are 13 months before the next election. We really need to know what these candidates are preparing for you as residents of Zimbabwe. So Linda, when we were talking about the challenges women are facing, and I remember recently you posted a nice photo of yours, and then people started retweeting that photo, and they said WOPO had played a very big role in making sure that Linda is now Akugeza. What do you have to say? You are really a strong woman, right?
What I've learned about Twimbos, they give Hopo some sense of heroism which is non-existent. And I'm not even bothered about that. I am my own person. I believe in me. I believe in my beauty, whether you see it
yes,
or you
you're
don't
beautiful.
do it.
Oh, yes.
I am wonderfully and fearfully made. I love myself just the way I am. And I've been proud of myself.
Oh,
you
yes.
have known me for a very long time.
Yeah, for sure.
Whatever people say will never change me. There's an English adage which says, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. They make me stronger by the day. And just this morning I was reading that if you don't see people attacking you, you're not doing anything. So those constant critics, insults, or whatever that happens on Twitter shows that I am doing something. If I wasn't doing anything, I don't think people will be wasting their time on me. It's just that some people just can't comprehend what I do, and they decide to insult me so that they feel better. If insulting me makes them feel better, insult me more and feel better.
Yeah, for sure. So I think it's last time when we were having the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, and you had an interview with you for 1 year at Zimbabwe Daily, and we were talking about probably the adoptions and stuff like that. So I wanted to know, as a leader, sometimes when you kind of comment or post something, for example, you talked about I think you said you have like they were faking their adoption, especially the girls. And you also talked about, I can't remember something else that you also said. Do you think that can implicate you as a leader when sometimes you post, or it's about those who are being trained outside of Zimbabwe, something like that, the youth, or yeah?
Like I said, I own my thoughts. I own my opinion. Section 60 of the Constitution of Zimbabwe speaks about the right to freedom of conscience. When I share my opinion, you have no right to come and attack me for my opinion. Because it's mine. It's coming from my head. If you've got yours, put it out and let people comment on it. I don't care what people say, because one thing that a lot of people who know me very well know is that I never blabber without evidence. And I am not one who loves spreading falsehoods. I speak things for people to be able to appreciate the realities that will be happening beyond the political curtains. Politics is a game. There are a lot of shenanigans that happen in politics. Agenda setting, normative leverage. The main opposition in this country have thrived on normative leverage for a very long time. Alarming people, agitating people, so that they can uprise, they can make... That is the type of politics that they do. That is not my type of politics. My type of politics is to make sure that every Zimbabwean is happy. Every Zimbabwean is comfortable, has got a sustainable livelihood. I believe in people being emancipated from poverty. I don't believe that we should be having any Zimbabwean who's poor in this country.
Yeah, for
We've
sure.
got vast mineral resources. We've got over 33 million hectares of land set aside for farming. And I believe that the government should be parceling out my 6 hectares to all the young people who want to go into farming so that they become productive.
Yeah, pane vamwe vari kungorima sora.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because right now, we are at a stage where there's a global recession. There will come a time when those who do not plant food will not eat. Zimbabwe should be positioning itself to be a breadbasket for Africa or maybe the world, because we've got the weather, we've got the climate, we've got the soils. But people are just interested. Look, going on my Twitter thread, there are times I raise issues of how pensioners are affected. People will not come and comment. People come and comment. There's a disconnect with us Zimbabweans. We love Zunzane. We love fighting about personalities. Things that do not even put bread and butter on our tables. Those that no comment and relax, never tweets. Things that are important that we're supposed to focus on. People are not interested in them. So at the end of the day, we need renewed Zimbabweans with productive mindsets, development-oriented mindsets. And we also need to work so hard on decolonizing our own thought processes to be able to say, how do we fix our country? I've said this time and again that we are suffering because the governance system that we use in this country, we adopted it from the Swiss regime. No one has ever made an effort to change the system. Even when we had the GNU, which was my highest disappointment, I thought that the PTs of this world and all those people who speak too much would go and push for a governance system overhaul. But no one ever spoke about that. How many MPs from the opposition have we had since 2000? Have you ever had even one speaking about changing the governance system? None. We need to change our governance system, our legal system, our education system.
For sure.
But people don't want to speak about these important issues. They go into parliament, you start hearing people saying, what kind of nonsense? Who eats ED? Who eats chamisa? Those are realities that we're supposed to speak about. Zimbabweans are the authors of their fate. That is the reality of it. They don't hold their leaders to account. They keep on voting for the same person. 2018, they don't even hold the person to account. By-election, how far? They don't. And then what?
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. I also wanted you to hear from you a comment on what do you think? Do you think Pollard is a good thing for us as Zimbabweans? Do you think it's really like taking responsibility to represent the whole of Zimbabweans?
From my perspective, the Pollard Project was a good idea, which many people do not know. I was actually involved in the authoring of the Pollard Project when I was still in the MDCT. Contrary to what a lot of people think, Pollard was not even ED's idea. It was from the MDCT then. When we're saying how do we converge as all political parties and have a platform where we can unite all Zimbabweans. That was the initial idea of Pollard. Then unfortunately I got fired by Dr. Thokozani Kupe, and then I had to refine myself into the political game. And later on I discovered that Pollard became a certain grouping of people who were not also interacting with the Zimbabweans. And to date, a lot of people do not know what's going on with Pollard.
For sure.
They don't know. And I've always been advising them. And for the record, Linda Masarira is not part of Pollard. Lead Labour Economists and African Democrats, the party that I lead, is not part of Pollard. When you see me at the events, I will be an invited guest. I find a lot of people insulting me for being a Pollard member, saying a whole lot of things. I am not part of Pollard. But I've always advised them that they are supposed to speak to the Zimbabweans, to let Zimbabweans know what they are doing, so that they will be judged accordingly. Because right now, people just know Pollard as the people who are given Isuzu cars and nothing more. So it is important for them to be able to have an effective communication vehicle that speaks to the issues of what they're doing. But from what I know with my interactions from Pollard Principle, they're doing a lot, but they just are not communicating to Zimbabweans in the world what exactly they're doing, what their achievements have been thus far, which is something that they're supposed to be doing sooner or later.
So there are questions here online. People are eager to hear from you. This one is Chindawi Give More Chakanyuka. He says Linda's internet party is a ZANU-PF project, period. Plus, she has no structures and support. What do you have to say about Chindawi? Thank you so much, Chindawi, for getting in touch with us. I think Linda will be able to answer that for herself.
You know what? Somebody with answering. Because Kwandira, I consider such nonsense as myopia. Because ZANU-PF is its own party with its own leader and its own structures. LEAD is its own party with its own structures. And we're not doing politics on the internet. We're not doing politics on social media. We mobilize on the ground, talk to people, and our structures are on the ground. We learned a lot from the mistakes of the MDCT, the mistakes of the CCC, and we know where to keep our cards. We keep our cards close to our chest. One thing I've appreciated in my political journey is that when a soldier goes to war, you don't lay bare all your strategies. Because when you lay them bare, your enemy will counter you. You can continue thinking that we don't have structures or we're an internet party, but we will shock you one day.
And then so I wanted to ask Kuti, like we said before that, because you really didn't really answer that question. I had said we are 13 months before the elections, and how ready are you as a president and also the whole of your political party? Are you excited? What are you looking forward to? Do you think you will make
we
it?
We are not excited. I don't want to lie, because there are a lot of challenges in our political economy. But we are mobilizing. We are trying to get people to appreciate the lead ideology. What I know for sure is that for our councillors in the 1,958 wards, we have done a lot of work, and we now have about 900 shadow councillors, and we're still building from the ward until we identify our MP candidates, which is something that we're going to start doing in September after we've done our local governance summit, where we're going to be giving guidance to our shadow councillors. That is what we are practically working on right now. We are still doing identification of candidates, and in the next month or so, we'll be in Matebeleland, because that is the region that we have not thoroughly worked on. So we'll be in Matebeleland trying to build our party structures there and ensure that we are ready for the local authority elections for 2023, because we are going to be focusing mainly on local authority, because we want to show people the development that we talk about. Development doesn't happen in parliament, it happens at ward level. So we are going to focus most of our campaigns in 2023 for the local authority and ensure that we get most of the seats in the local authority, and to be able to effect the change that we want to see at a local level that will benefit the ordinary person, because change happens in the local authorities.
Local. So probably myself as a resident from Chitungwiza, I would also want to, because in Chitungwiza we do not have our own source of water. We rely on Harare, and people have been pushing for the construction of a dam. And do you think when you get into power, Madam President, and most of your councillors get in power, they will be able to push for that?
Yes, that is one thing that we're also passionate about, having safe water bodies for every town. Every town should be able to supply water to its own people, safe, clean, and potable water. I don't believe in this notion of drilling boreholes. It's a kayak, it's backward. I believe that every person should just walk onto the tap and open their water and have their fresh water coming out of the tap. That is what we are advancing for.
Yeah, and as we all know that right now they are doing the delimitation process, and what do you think about the registered voters in Zimbabwe? Like the population, is it the good numbers that you would need as a presidential candidate?
More needs to be done to get people to register to vote, but we need to inspire that vote. Just telling people to register and vote is not enough. People need to be motivated to do so. Right now, why a lot of people are not registering to vote is because every time they've cast their vote, they've seen the people they voted for becoming richer, driving better cars and living lavish lifestyles. So a lot of people question what is the importance of voting. because the deliverables they're supposed to receive from their end as the one who cast the vote are not there. So politicians need to change the way they relate to their constituencies, to their wards, and ensure that they serve the people and not their self-interest in their pockets. And as long as we have not changed the way we are campaigning, we might find very fewer people voting in 2023 because people are tired, people are fed up, people are not stupid.
Maybe before we end, let's talk about online platforms, the challenges you face, and probably what do you think the government should do? Because as you can see, every person who just says hashtag register to vote, to them, you appear like, recently there is this Baba Harare is texting on his Twitter account, register to vote, and all of a sudden people are just against him. And then they started this fight. What do you think about just encouraging people to register to vote and then?
Unfortunately, I didn't follow the Baba Harare issue. I just noticed that he was trending on Twitter. I'm one person who doesn't follow just everything because I've got more important things to do.
President, so.
Yeah, some things I just don't have the energy for.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, there is no problem in encouraging people to register to vote. It is actually every Zimbabwean's obligation to encourage people to register to vote. And from what I know, the majority of people are actually registered to vote. Those who wanted to register to vote are those turning 18, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
And those maybe who had voter apathy. So at the end of the day, every Zimbabwean should be encouraging the next person to register to vote. There's nothing wrong with that. They're exercising their freedom of conscience.
Yes.
People just have to learn to tolerate diverse views. We can't all be the same. We come from families, we go to different churches. So what is the problem in having different political opinions? I think we need to do a thorough cleansing of our thought processes as Zimbabweans. We are not enemies because you are ZANU and I'm lead. We're not enemies.
Yeah,
We
because
remain
despite
Zimbabweans.
the
We remain
challenges.
sisters.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I think I might have. We want to. Okay. We want to cross over for someone online. Panama comments are online, and I would ask Ma'am Chaka to read them for me.
All right. Thank you so much. And thank you, Zimbabwe, for tuning into Zimbabwe Daily as we have this conversation with lead president Linda Tsungirirai Masarira. And some of the comments that have been coming through, Madam President, Upenyu Clarkson Zunzi asked this question and says, are you, Linda, pushing on putting Zimbabwe first, or are you just loading your tummy? Are you pushing on putting Zimbabwe first is the question.
My interests have always been Zimbabwe. There is nothing to load in my tummy. I've made a lot of sacrifices for this country. If I wanted to load my tummy, I would have gotten the 1 million from the US Embassy. And I would have gotten a lot of funds that have been offered by a lot of white people who wanted me to run their agenda. But I'm not that person. I've got children. I've got a grandchild. And their future matters to me. And the future of every Zimbabwean child matters to me. I want to leave this world a better person. And I want to leave all Zimbabweans in a better position than the position that they are in today in regards to their livelihoods. I believe that every Zimbabwean can be a millionaire if we are directing our resources and our funds to every Zimbabwean to benefit Zimbabwean people.
Right. President, you talk about the 1 million from the American Embassy, and I want to ask that question again for the sake of our viewers or online. Why didn't you produce that evidence probably to the police or to the Interpol so that they deal with such individuals who are doing that? Because at the end of the day, we want to be able to build Zimbabwe on the basis of correct information. You talk about evidence that you have on different platforms, but we've never heard a single arrest or conviction around those issues to say, because of information that we've received from the lead president, this is what we've been able to do with that information.
I am not the Home Affairs Ministry. And secondly, being offered money is not a criminal offense where people are supposed to go and get arrested. Thirdly, I think the rightful elements did whatever they did, and you should direct your questions to the security sector in Zimbabwe on how they dealt with that issue.
Awesome. And Upenyo Clarkson comes back and say, how do you put Zimbabwe first when you have a person in office anozviisa baiginya? A quick response on that.
Akazviisa baiginya ndiani? I thought we went for elections in 2018 and who won and who lost. So akazviisa baiginya ndiani? Don't make your assumptions a reality.
Right. And the comment that is coming through as well is saying you don't deliver if Mnangagwa blocks you. Be realistic. What is your comment on, you talked about, this comment came in when we were talking about local government and how change could have come if people had voted for some independent candidates who had put themselves up and not necessarily voting for someone because they belong to a particular party. So the question is, how do you deliver if the assumption is the president blocks you from doing that?
How has the president blocked people from delivering would be my question back to them. Because people should understand the roles of a councillor. A councillor is supposed to ensure that there's water coming out of the taps. A councillor is supposed to ensure that there's street lighting. A councillor is supposed to ensure that streets are properly tarred. A councillor should ensure that all local clinics are well equipped. Local schools that are run by the council have got sufficient books, etc., etc. So how have councillors been blocked by the president to ensure that all those deliverables are possible?
Right. I will not respond to that. I'm sure the the viewers will be able to comment on that. Babs Chera says, you are very uncivilized by your narrative of white people offering you $1 million. I'm sure this is an opinion because it's not a question coming from Babs. Any comment on that?
Thank you very much, Barbara. That's my comment to her.
All right. Right. And Takurangoni comes through and says, what do you say about ZANU-PF people looting and blaming sanctions from West, yet they have houses and their kids there? Do you think China is doing good business with us or they're just stealing from us?
I don't even believe that China is supposed to be looting our resources as well in Zimbabwe. The West is looting, the East is looting, and the problem lies with our government and with our leaders. And that is what I'm very much against. I'm just not against the West only. I'm against everyone who is coming into Zimbabwe clandestinely, posturing themselves as if they're saviors for Zimbabwe whilst they're busy looting resources in our country. So as for those who have got their children in wherever they are, that is none of my business. My business is ensuring that we have a change of government, a change of a governance system, in that we Zimbabweans own our mineral resources and our means of production.
All right. And I'm going to ask the last two questions. There are quite a number of comments that have come through, but I'll specifically speak to two questions. There is a question coming through from Openyo, and it says, what is your view on the latest ZEC appointments?
I don't have an opinion on that yet.
All right. So, Benyo, there's your answer to your question. She doesn't have an opinion now. And Chihera says, well, it's another statement. She says, how can you be a president who spread hate among people with different races?
There's no hate that has been spread. Calling facts is not spreading hate. I'm one person who does not call a shovel a garden spoon because people feel that a garden spoon is a better word than a shovel. They don't love us. They don't want us. All they do is to posture for us to recolonize Africa. And until you appreciate those facts, you will know that Africa is under siege. And I will not stop preaching the gospel of a united Africa to protect the future of Africa, to protect our minerals, to protect our people, and to protect our sovereignty and territorial integrity.
Excellent. And Tatenda Tavarwisa says, President Linda Makachena.
Thank you, Tatenda.
I hand it over back to Titi.
Thank you so much, Yvonne Muchaka, and thank you so much, Madam President, for coming on this show. You're my first guest, and I hope the other 24 presidential candidates will be able to make it,
Welcome,
including
Titi.
ED himself. He should come also.
He will come.
Yeah,
Call him, he will come.
definitely. So maybe you have your parting words before you go.
What divided us is actually what can unite us. we are all Zimbabweans. We should learn to appreciate each other, love each other, and build our country together, united in our diversity. We are one people. We all need each other to be able to build the Zimbabwe that we want. One love. Let love lead.
Lead. Wow, you heard it yourself from the horse's mouth. And yes, that was Linda Tsungirirai Masarira, the president from Lead. And she was sharing a journey and also the challenges that she is facing. And of course, what she believes in. And yes, every person has their own beliefs. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. Thank you so much, the team behind the camera. Thank you so much for joining us. And yes, we'll meet again next Monday on the same program. Meet the candidates. All the presidential candidates are allowed to be here, or the councillors, or the MPs, because we are only 13 months before the next elections and we have to be ready. And remember, in everything that we do, we are all Zimbabweans. It doesn't matter what divides us. It doesn't matter we have different political views, but we are all Zimbabweans, and we need to make sure that our country will be developed and everyone will have a job to go to, and everyone will have enough food on the table. Until we meet again next week, I want you all to remember to go and register to vote. And to those who would want to join her party, please feel free to contact her. She's always available. And like she said before, that she supports women mostly, and she's gunning for most council seats. So yes, until we meet again next week, it's goodbye for now. We love you all from Zimbabwe Daily.